One of the most powerful tools of any system is familiarity. Welcome back to the Revolution Resolution. I'm Malaika, and today we're talking about how things that hurt us and hurt others come to feel normal. If you've ever looked back at something and thought, how did we ever accept that? Then this episode is for you. Because systems don't last for 250 years through punishment alone. They last by shaping expectations, by repeating the same rules, the same stories, the same consequences, until people stop seeing them as rules at all. Normalization is how harm hides in plain sight. When something is reinforced by laws, institutions, schools, workplaces, media, and family traditions, it stops feeling like a decision someone made. It starts to feel like reality. That's how a system built by specific people, written into law and protected over generations, becomes hard to name. Not because it's abstract or invisible, but because we're taught how to move inside it without questioning it. Normalization teaches us to adapt instead of ask why. Instead of asking, why does this work this way? We're taught to ask, how do I make this work for me? So people adjust. They learn which parts of themselves to soften, which questions not to ask, which behaviors are rewarded and which are punished. They accept long hours as the cost of being serious. They accept exhaustion as a sign of commitment. They accept silence as professionalism. They accept unequal treatment as just how things are. Not because it feels right, but because it feels familiar. And normalization affects everyone, differently, but completely. In this country, power has been organized through a flawed, gendered framework, one that already limits who gets to be fully recognized, and then further excludes people through race, class, ability, citizenship, and other markers. Some people are pushed entirely outside the protections of that framework. Others are included conditionally, expected to comply, perform, or dominate in order to belong. But no one moves through it untouched. Because a system that relies on hierarchy trains everyone to contort, to compete, to comply, or to look away. For some of you listening, this isn't new. You've seen these patterns for a long time. And maybe what's been hard isn't recognizing the system, but watching others defend it, excuse it, or insist it's just the way things are. That disconnect can feel isolating. It can make you question your own clarity or wonder why naming what feels obvious to you feels impossible for others. That gap isn't about intelligence or morality. It's about how deeply normalization works. This is also why clarity can feel unsettling, even lonely. When something you've lived with your whole life is named, or when you see what others have been trained not to see, it can feel like the ground shifts. You might even feel grief or anger or impatience. And none of that means that you're wrong. It means that the familiar story is loosening its grip. Seeing what was normalized gives you back choice. Not the kind of choice that demands instant change, but the kind that allows you to pause, to notice when something feels off, even if you don't yet know what to do about it. To stop treating exhaustion, silence, or inequality as inevitable. To recognize that discomfort doesn't always mean danger. Sometimes it means truth. Once something is named, it no longer gets to run quietly in the background. So here's something to reflect on this week. What patterns in your life have felt normal simply because they were repeated? Where have you adapted in ways that cost you something? And what might become possible if those patterns were no longer treated as fixed or natural? Awareness doesn't demand perfection, it just creates space. And space is where change begins. Thank you for staying with me in this conversation. We're going to keep building language and clarity together, step by step. See you next time.